Frey, Ramon Dominguez, Julian Lepero, Gary Stevens, Kent DeSormo, they all have something in common. They were all outstanding Eclipse Award winners as top jocks and top apprentices. This week, we go back in time and have our eye on the Eclipse. Voting for 2012's top jockey could pose a dilemma for some voters. Does money won count for more, or does graded stakes tip the scales? If dollar amounts sway Eclipse Award voters, Ramon Dominguez is the man. He tops the earnings list for a third consecutive year in 2012. Dominguez, who won the Eclipse Award the past 2 years, enjoyed his best season ever. The 36-year-old leads his peers with more than $25 million in purses won. Not far behind in second is Javier Castellano, perennially a top classic rider who is seeking his first Eclipse. John Velasquez, who in August was inducted into the Hall of Fame, is third on the earnings list. Velasquez's numbers are significant. His $19 million in purse money was won with far fewer amounts compared to that of Dominguez and Castellano. Velasquez, a two-time Eclipse Award winner, accounted for a list-topping 37 graded stakes wins. Castellano checks in with 34 graded stakes victories, while Dominguez has 28. Each of these riders won races at the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Dominguez and Velasquez were the pilots for 2 of this year's superstars.
And Zagora is going to win it. And Zagora has won the filly and mare turf. Little Mike in an upset. Little Mike won it. Wise Dan, super impressive Breeders' Cup Mile. Wise Dan won it.
Mario Gutierrez would have had strong support if I'll Have Another won the elusive Triple Crown. The young rider was 2/3 of the way there when I'll Have Another was scratched due to an injury the day before the Belmont Stakes. Gutierrez still figures to garner some votes, particularly from voters who place an emphasis on the sport's most recognizable races. The Eclipse Award in the apprentice category appears to be in a battle between Jose Montano, who rides at Charlestown, and Angel Suarez, who competes on the Pennsylvania circuit. I'd like to thank Karen Johnson for writing that package, and it's tough. I mean, what do you go by, Siegel? Do you go, what have you done for me lately? How many graded stakes? How many wins? Or is it all about the money at the end of the day?
It's all about everything, and this is the difficult thing. I'm looking at Ramon Dominguez and Castellano and Johnny V and Rafael Bejarano as being the main players here, and I'm looking at Dominguez, and he's leading he's leading the group with $25 million in earnings, and he has the most wins, and it's kind of easy to say, okay, well, he's number one in a lot of divisions. Why wouldn't he be the winner? And the answer is, why shouldn't he be? I don't know. I mean, I'm not really as impressed with the amount of graded wins that Jockey has ridden, because it's just a matter of who he rides for and the horses that he has riding. I'm looking at the entire picture, and to me, Dominguez, Castellano, Velasquez, they're kind of standing out. Although Johnny V has quite a few less mounts and quite a few less wins, he's pretty close in terms of the money, so I guess you can make a case for him as well. But I think based on how voters usually vote, they're going to see Dominguez on top of all the lists, and that's going to be a hard name to dismiss.
Well, we can go backwards and forwards. Let's bring in Frankie Lovato. Now, he won the Eclipse Award back in 1980 as champion apprentice, and he's now living in Ohio with his wife and has a jockey school going on, and he follows the racing. Frankie, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zoe. Good morning, Jeff. How y'all doing?
We're doing great. Thank you for joining us. Frankie, you were an Eclipse Award-winning apprentice. That must have been fun.
Yeah. That's one of those things that... as a jockey, it's one of those prizes like the Kentucky Derby that you just cherished, and to this day, I mean, it's just a milestone, an accomplishment that just you'll never forget.
Well, we'll dive into the apprentice jockeys in just a minute, but we have 3 finalists here: Ramon Dominguez, Javier Castellano, and John Velasquez, and between them, they've won probably more than 1,000 races, Ramon winning in pretty much every category in money won. As a jockey yourself, if you had to vote, what would you go for, Frankie? Would it be the money? Would it be the graded stakes? Or would it be the everyday going out there riding thousands of races a year? I mean, what would your take be?
Well, that's a good question, and so many great riders out there, and that are like Russell Bates, for example. I mean, he's not even a nominee this year, and yet he every year he seems to just crush the other jockeys at races won. But when you go to Ramon Dominguez, for example, he's won 5 times the money and some of the bigger prestigious races throughout the year. So it's gosh, I guess it's a tough one. If you're, Zoey, as a jockey yourself, you're out there, you're working hard, you're riding hard, and you're winning, and but still, it comes down to the prestige of it all.
When you were riding and you retired back in 2004, and your horses earned $41 million and some change, and I guess you put some of that 10% to good use because you're doing good work, and of course with the Equicizer, that's kind of kept you busy as well.
Yeah, well, thanks, Jeff. The Equicizer being kind of my legacy through my career. I mean, I did have a great career and all, but people will remember me mostly because of the Equicizer, which is the training device that many of the jockeys throughout the world have been using for so many years now. But, yeah, I stay busy, and that 10% you were talking about, well, I don't know where it went. And Jeff, did you know... I'm sorry, but Jeff, did you know that Zoey was known as the Red Rocket?
I did know
many
that.
Years ago.
Yes, and she's red today, and her, she was a terrific rider. She was. I used to watch her when she was in Arlington Park, and I'm saying, she's a great rider, but she might even be a better co-host. No, I didn't think about that at the time.
She's phenomenal.
You were an Eclipse Award-winning jockey as an apprentice. There are 2 apprentices nominated, Jose Montano and Angel Suarez. Jose leads with 273 victories. As an apprentice, how hard was it for you? And maybe you can give us just some insight about trying to win the Eclipse Award, as these 2 have been going head-and-head all season long. Is it something that you would really strive to do, or do you just go about winning races?
Well, obviously, you have to focus on winning races. But in my case, for example, there was another jockey that had won more races than me, Jorge Vargas, and he was also like the leading jockey up in the Boston area. But I was campaigning in the New York circuit at the prime of my bug, and I was competing against Cordero and Velasquez and Pinkai and McCarran, and they were all fighting for the Eclipse Award at the same time. So, that was for me. I think I got the edge because of the prestige of it. I did have more purse earnings, and I was able to knock out, I believe it was like 15 stakes races as an apprentice, which is a big deal because you have to carry the equal weight as a journeyman. So that gave me the edge as far as getting the nod and winning the Eclipse Award.
Well, Frankie, you're down there in Ohio, and you have a jockey school, and we're going to let you plug that really quickly. Tell us how you go about doing this, and I gather you have Julie Crone down there to try and teach some of your kids something. How do people get in contact with you?
Well, the easiest way is to visit our website, and we're a nonprofit organization. It's called Jockey World, and the website is jockeyworld.org. And basically what I do is I just help educate the public, specifically the youth, that want to get into horse racing. Not all of them want to be jockeys. I mean, some of them want to be trainers and exercise riders and grooms. And what I offer them is an educational process and some guidance and direction. We're not officially a school yet. I do host a jockey camp every year, and that's where Julie Crone joined me this past year. And assisting me with, and it's just an education, and that's what I do. And it's free and it's open to the public. So if someone wanted to visit jockeyworld.org and see the things that we do, a lot of it's media. We have a radio show we do once a week called Jockey World Radio, which you were on in the past, and it's all about education, health and safety.
Well, I think you make a very, very good point there, Frankie, and thank you so much for joining us. And why don't you hop on a plane and come on out to Southern California? I'm sure it's a little warmer than where you are.
Well, yes, indeed it would be, and I would love to. Thank you, Zoey and Jeff, for having me on this morning.
Thank you.
Frankie Lovato.
Jockeyworld.org.
Jockeyworld.org, all about the education. Siegel, why don't you educate me a little further here with one of your days?
All right, let's stick at Gulfstream Park. You'll probably pick against me again.